Welcome, dear Thriver, to Thriver TV. Today I want to talk about what creates narcissism. And I want to look at this from a psychological, a genetic, and a spiritual perspective. But before I jump into that, I just want to remind you, if you haven't as yet subscribed to my channel, please do so and hit the notification bell so that you'll know of each new video that I release. And please remember to share my videos and like them so that we can really get the word out that it is possible to heal for real from narcissistic abuse. Okay, so what causes narcissism? It's one of those million-dollar questions that a lot of you ask all the time. And it absolutely can be nature. I want to look at that first. All right, so for example, I've got two beautiful pussycats. They're sisters from the same litter, completely different personalities. One's really sweet and the other one is a lot more complex, and she has a lot more defense mechanisms. And this can be the same for even identical twins. And every parent knows that they can have children that just seem to have a different makeup with their personality. And I really do believe that we don't just acquire hair color, eye color. So we may express blue eyes or brown eyes or dark hair or blonde hair, but we also may express certain personality traits that we've picked up genetically from our ancestors. And a lot of our great neuroscientists and quantum scientists and genetic experts are really proving this. And there may be a gene that we express or a genetic composition of having certain survival programs or fears or traumas on board, whereas another child in the same family doesn't have that certain personality disposition. And with narcissism, most definitely, it is about fear. It is about defenses. It is about an enlarged amygdala and defense mechanisms and going into the primitive brain rather than being in a more reasonable way of dealing with things and a more secure, emotionally secure way of dealing with things. So certain children can absolutely have that. So if we look at nurture is, for example, being born into an environment where you have a narcissistic parent. So a parent that is either abusive, selfish, it's all about them, neglectful, the child isn't validated, the child isn't respected for their own needs or views or ideas, and they're really taught that they're not good enough, that they're not important, that they're not valued, and they're not validated. And therefore, absolutely, that can create narcissism, because the child will make an internal decision that as myself, I'm not getting my needs met. As myself, I can't emotionally survive or function in the world. I need to create a skirmish. I need to create some kind of strategy to be able to get along. So for that child, it may not just be a selfish, invalidating parent. It could be something which is absolute abuse or violation. It could be mental, physical, spiritual, sexual abuse, where the true self is submerged because it's way too painful, and a false self will come forth. Now, there's really two ways that this can go with children, and we have the narcissist and we have the codependent. And the narcissist is, I'm going to create a fictitious false self who is the idea of me that I would like to be of me. So my buffer to stop the pain is to imagine that I'm omnipotent, that I'm magnificent, that I'm incredible, that people fear me, so it's this cartoon vision of self, of maybe as a child a superhero or somebody incredible. And this child may end up being the bully in the schoolyard because they feel so pumped up and so important and so superior that They need to have other people, even from a young age, bow to them and respect them and give them what they need. Now, their version at home could be very, very, very different, because they're the one that is being abused and they're the one that is being bullied. Now, a child may also come through as a very young age being the codependent. So how do I survive the abuse and the neglect? Maybe it's by me winning and earning love and approval, by pleasing my parents, by being an over accomplisher, by being the fixer, by being the helper, by being the good child. And that's more of the codependent who is abused by a narcissist. Whereas a narcissist will be able to, as a false self, have lots of false narratives about life and themselves, and also really be able to lie, and be able to lie from a young age and look somebody in the eyes and tell them a version of things that doesn't even resemble the truth. But that's either to win approval or to shunt the blame onto the other child, usually the scapegoated child. Whereas the narcissist will do all sorts of bad things to get their share of the goodies. They'll steal and lie and cheat and scheme, and then they'll blame the scapegoated child in the family, which is the codependent, the more sensitive child who's trying to people please to stay safe. They're the ones that will get attacked by the narcissist in the family, and a narcissistic sibling will absolutely take it out on them. Now, there's other ways psychologically that a narcissist can be created. Over entitlement, never saying no to a child, giving them what they want, giving them too much free rein, and wanting to please them and be loved by them, rather than saying no and having limits and creating boundaries and risking disagreements with them, or risking them not liking you, because you hold firm in truths and teach them boundaries and limits. So over entitlement can create narcissism absolutely as well. Narcissism can be created through a narcissistic parent having their golden child, objectifying a child, their looks, which is something to brag about, so that the narcissistic parent can feel better about themselves, or their sporting achievements, or their academia, or whatever it is, that the narcissistic parent will live vicariously through the golden child. And the golden child feels like they're always on a pedestal and they're superior. And again, it's narcissism. It can absolutely be narcissism. Not to say that every golden child that's put in that position will become a narcissist, because many of them are not, but that can create narcissism. So really, that's the nature and nurture side of it. Now, the spiritual side of it. We most definitely are living in a human construct which is very conducive to narcissism. And the reason why that is because source has been taken out of the equation. Source meaning our higher self, prime creator, if you like, the light, life force, love, the wave function of oneness, and the interconnectedness of unity consciousness, which comes from source, which comes from prime creator. Now, if we're not filled and fulfilled with source, we can't have peace, inner solidness, and an integration within ourselves, our soul, our spirit, and our higher self, and our world. Now, that means if we are lacking that fulfillment, we're going to look to try to get filled from the outside, and it will never be durable, and it will never be authentic. It will always be a false substitute. So that's things like the next flashy car, having a big pay packet, having a hot girlfriend or boyfriend, having people envy you, having your identity based in stuff and things, and how many likes you get on Facebook, how many people think you're attractive, tell you you're beautiful, all of those things that are feeding the ego. And it may even be I'm such a nice person. I do all these lovely things. And the grandstanding of that to get attention and get the ego feed. So that is a huge problem in humanity. And the more that we get fixated on identity, and the more that we get reduced down to looking at ourselves in all these identity classifications, we're getting away from the true unity consciousness identity, which is I am source. I'm a fractal of source. I am a part of the divine mind of oneness, of the higher consciousness that I am a piece of as an eternal, immortal, spiritual being having a physical experience. Because that's where we get our wholeness and our connection from, and our peace and our power, true powerfulness. Narcissism is not powerfulness, it's powerlessness, trying to be powerful. And true source is our true identity at the wave oneness function. That's actually who we are. And the further we get away from that by making our identity as my job, my classification, my skin color, my whatever, then we're getting taken away from the oneness, which is ourselves and all of life and unity consciousness. So spiritually, narcissism is created through separation consciousness. I'm different from you. It's me versus you. I have to win and others have to lose for me to get my share of the goodies. I'm in lack, I'm in separation, I'm not blessed by source, I'm not a part of source, and I don't know how to express myself as source in life. That's narcissism. I'm out in the cold on my own, having to scheme, lie, manipulate, do whatever it takes to get my share of the goodies because I don't believe that I'm worthy and I'm whole and I'm deserving because I'm not connected to source. So that's the spiritual aspect of it. So I hope that this all makes sense. And for all of us, we may feel like, am I a narcissist? Because sometimes I feel empty and I feel separated. And I know that I have people pleased or I have manipulated and I have done agendas to try to be loved and approved of and to get energy from the outside. And maybe I don't feel any good unless I'm getting the stuff. And really what we can understand from that, it doesn't necessarily mean you're a narcissist, but it means that you are suffering a spiritual deficiency within where you haven't yet come home to releasing your traumas that have kept you in separation consciousness and filled with the light, which is unity consciousness, to come home to true source and original creator, and to know that you are a piece of original creator. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I teach in healing from narcissistic abuse, which is to get out of separation consciousness where you can get taken down by narcissists, to get out of that deficient trauma where you are susceptible, to come home to reversing it to unity consciousness. Because if we all did that, our world would be completely different. And humanity would be completely different, and this planet would be completely different. So I hope that that has helped explain. And if you can see yourself in that and you're wanting to, because we can all have our own narcissism, we absolutely can. Does it mean that we have narcissistic personality disorder? No, definitely not. And if you're in this community, that would be very unlikely. But what it does mean is that we can clean it up. Those parts of us on the outer feeling powerless, trying to feel powerful by our skirmishes and trying to get things from outside of ourselves rather than coming home to ourselves. So my Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program is a 10-step process to clean all of that up, come home to yourself and escape the world of connection to narcissists, because you evolve beyond it. And when you're whole and solid and fulfilled, then we have no need to try to turn crumbs into cookies and try and change and fix abusive people so that they will love us. We leave them behind and we move into much more authentic, genuine, fulfilling relationships. So, starting with ourselves. I hope that helps. So until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there is nothing else to do. All right, lots of love. Bye-bye.